one of the things we're going to talk about today is sharing your story via video. Is that something you do, or is something you're comfortable with?
Sharing a story via video.
Yes, sir. Like, meaning, do you ever make video? Do you turn the phone around and maybe document somewhere you're at given times or anything
Yeah,
like that?
I I rarely reveal myself. Even in all my 3 books, people don't know anything about me. So yeah, it's not my style to do that. Although I like seeing people's behind the scenes. I love seeing how things come together or how things are building. But I don't really share my personal face and stuff too much. I think that's what you mean, vulnerable. That's being vulnerable. I'm vulnerable not with words, but not on video. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. So, why do you think that is? Because when you come in, like, man, you've done it, you succeeded at the highest levels. So, is it you're comfortable in the space you're at, or like you said, that's not something I want to show people that part of my
Well,
life or something?
even when I wrote my book, Law of Attraction, it's 19 years old now. I was pretty conscious. I didn't even want my picture on the book because it's not about me, right? So, you
Yeah.
know how some people put their picture on their front cover. And so mine's actually on the back cover only because everybody wanted it there. But I was never, my work is never about me because I'm a trainer, right? So, and I'm always wanting to train people and to teach people. So it's not about me. And sometimes you'll say, "Oh, I love your system." I said, "It's not my system. It's our system, right?" It's like maybe it's a little bit of shyness or something, but
No, I get it, and I love this aspect, Tom. When people do want to put their picture on the book, Michael, I always ask why. And can you explain to me what the reason for that is? Maybe it is because you are, maybe a lot of times the brand is that person and they need to, okay, I get that. Or maybe it's Sarah Palin or Hillary Clinton or something like that. It's a different type of book. But I always want to know why, and I always quiz them. Is it just a vanity thing that you want to be on the front of this cover, or what's the reason? And I think you handled that pretty well.
yeah, I think that's a good question. You know, I want to, I know we're being recorded right now, but I get super turned off when people try to sexualize themselves on buttons on Clubhouse or on book covers and stuff like that. So I think I'm so anti that I deliberately don't want to put my face on anything because it's always about the message. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think. Sorry, I was just pinging people into the room, but I'm very much listening. So yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Michael. I think there is a tendency. A lot of people have a tendency to, uh, include themselves a little bit too much and make things a little bit too much about themselves, and not about what they're trying to offer to the world, right? Not about the value that they're trying to bring. And me, I'm always talking about leading with value. And yeah, I think for some people, like a good way to sort of make sure or maintain the focus on the value that they're bringing, the teaching that they're bringing, the information that they're bringing to their audience is to sort of keep themselves out of it a little bit. And some people are just more comfortable that way. And that's like, that kind of goes to my point, I think, that we talked about last week about creating content that's authentic to you, right? So like whatever that content is, personally, I'm happy to be vulnerable, right? Like I'm happy to create vulnerable posts. I'm happy to talk about things publicly, mistakes I've made. I just did a presentation yesterday and we live streamed part of the presentation. I messed up a setting on my streaming software. I did a presentation for my business networking group, and I messed up a setting on my streaming software, and there was no sound for the first 5 minutes, and that was totally on me. And I left it up, and I put a comment: "No sound for the first 5 minutes. Even pros make mistakes." Right? Like I'm fine with that. I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. Not everybody is, and that's okay. But I think it's most important that you stay authentic to who you are, and create content that is authentic to your voice, to your message, because that's what's going to be most magnetic to your audience.
Yes, and I wanted to add to, remember we talked about the four styles and how some people like to watch it, some people like to hear it, some people like to write notes and so on. So, particularly for a website, for example, if somebody goes to a website and there's no picture or video, then there's two styles that are not connecting. The kinesthetic style, they really want to connect. They want to know your personal stuff. They want to know that you got a dog and a cat and a family and so on. And the visual person wants to see you, not about judgment, but that's their style. So if you don't have a video or a picture, a lot of people will go to your website and it looks corporate and it says about us. And we go to the about us page and it's just all text. They go to about us page to see you. Did you know that? That's why that's about us. Well, who are they? We go there, I go there, visual people go there, and then we find there's no picture there. And then, boy, our red flags come up and say, eh, eh. And
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, Michael. I do that. I do that all the time. I'll go to somebody's website, especially when I find it super odd when I know somebody is a very small business, maybe a sole proprietor, and they have a website, and I go to their website and I go to their about me page and there's nothing about them. And instantly I'm like, what are you trying to hide? Why won't you tell me about it? And I don't think necessarily it's always they're trying to hide something. I think they don't realize that that is a space where they should actually introduce themselves and give people the opportunity to know who they are. But I do the exact same thing, Michael. I always go to the about me page and look to see if there's even a picture of who they are. I want to see them.
Did you
and
guys go on, Michael?
Oh no, I'm just having conversation here. I'm also thinking about Instagram, and I never do a story in Instagram. I might take a picture when I'm out on my hike, but I never take a little video of me in the hike in the woods and all that stuff. I think about doing it, and then I get too judgy in my head, and I thought, who wants to see that? But I'll tell you, the likes that gets the most on my all of my Instagram, all of my media, is when when I'm with my mother. So every time I post a mother picture, oh my God, it lights up like a Jerry Lewis telethon, like hundreds and hundreds of likes, and it's like it's my mother already. And a mother with lobster, that one got the best. When I was having lobster with my mother, that was like the number one picture. If I can find it, I'll share it. But yeah, and I
What's
guess that's very
interesting,
personal. They're not used to seeing that.
Michael, you said earlier that you like seeing that that behind the scenes a little bit. And for me, I like to let people know that I don't have two heads, that what you see is what you get, meaning that one, for let's say my authors, if they're going out and speaking, or if you're going to go speaking, when I go to that about page, I want to know, I want to see you up speaking and know this is Tom. This is what Tom looks like. This is the Michael I'm going to get. I hear his message. I hear how he talks. I see the video. This is what I'm going to get. But I also like to know that this guy's not out posting political jargon or living a disingenuous lifestyle. And that's why seeing a picture of you and your mom or you and your dog, or man, I like this guy. I want more of him. So I think letting us into that world a little bit can be beneficial without selling out. And Michael, I don't want to see your legs. Truth is, and they may be nice, but I don't want to see that part of you. But I do want to see the picture of you and your mom. That's it. That's interesting. I'd love to see it, man. Let's meet Renee, Tom. I think it's time.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we always appreciate when you stop by and work the Clubhouse buttons and everything like that. So
I was actually going to ask. I know that I can get it to where I can attend or not attend and put this on my calendar, right? Can I do that? Or how does it work here? Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. So
Okay, good.
Michael, Tom, cover that. I don't know.
Yes, she's asking if you guys have a club with a little greenhouse so we can like it and get notified. And I think the answer is no. It's not a club. It's like when you join my club, Renee, there's a little box that says join it so you get notified. So you just got to put these guys in your calendar. It's worth doing that. So
Okay, so then what I haven't really done.
No, we did take your lead, Michael. We made it a club.
is
So
it a club?
yeah, we made a little Clubhouse podcasting, publishing, and social media. Not branded Talex media, not branded Motivation Champs. We just a room where we're just shooting the breeze, and so you
Are you
should be
sure
able.
that's not the title, Dominic, of the room?
No, we actually duplicated it too, and it's a club. So it
Okay.
says CH.
I
I'll
see.
send it to you.
I thought
I'll
it
send
was a
it to both of
club.
you.
I thought it was, and I thought I tried to, or I was trying to click on it because remember I use voiceover for my screen reader for my iPhone with my iPhone, and I have to do finger gestures, and I can see. So I'm considered like legally blind, so I do have some vision, and I have central vision. So if you see me, a lot of people don't get that I'm blind right away, but that's because I can look at a person right at their face. So it feels like I'm looking, in their eye when I can't really see their eye color. But anyway, I'm just giving you an idea of what I see. But when I swipe, then I listen to what voiceover says. And I thought I had clicked on the club. And then I noticed last time I was like, I usually I thought I could say, yes, I want this as an event. Because I remember hearing you're not attending. And I don't know. So how do I get it to where I say I am attending? So you'll know, I guess. Do you guys see that?
I mean, I know, Renee, we said it. Dom did set up the club a few weeks ago. I don't set up the room. But Dom sets up the room for us every week. But I think we're kind of figuring out the kinks there. But I think if we set up the room, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but we have to set the room up inside the club, right?
That's right.
And then
And you know what's happening today is that a lot of people clicked on to join this event, but this isn't the event that's notifying them. So, in other words, you have to, when you go to list this event here, you have to select what club you want it to go to, right? And the default, it would go to either one of your names. So we're in one of your rooms right now, not your rooms, but in your personal accounts. So step number one, set up the event, and it asks for the date and the time. There's another line that says which club do you want to go in, and sometimes you go into other clubs and you look for yours. If you scroll down the list, you'll see it shows the club name with the club and then the room name. That's consistent. And with yours, there's no club name, which means you came in without selecting the club room. But people are still finding us. But I think both myself and Renee, we did click on the little bell because it did show up in my feed, but that's not the one that we're in. So Renee, I appreciate your confusion. And it sounds like next time they'll list it and that little bell will do its thing for you.
Oh, okay. So yeah, because it was on my feed. I mean, I remember because I'm on the West Coast. So it's like thought it was 6:30. I was trying to reply to a couple other text messages that I had to deal with this morning, and then still fog coffee drinking.
Good.
And
Well, this
I
is
want to
it.
get on. So I saw the feed and I jumped in. Anyway, that was what I was wanting. So
Hey,
when that's set up, then I'll
okay,
be able to.
hold up.
Yeah.
So let me be clear. Just like Tom admitted to messing up the first 5 minutes of his video the other day, it is clear to me that I did not set up this room in the club this week. So I screwed it up, and I take full. I will learn and improve upon that next time. Okay, now we are
Well,
moving
actually,
on.
Dominic, just real quickly, you didn't make a mistake, but when you went to launch today's class, you know where it says start a room? You started a room as opposed to selecting the room that was waiting. That's the only difference. So if you want training today, just
Hmm.
again, set up a room like this. Then when it says start a room, it shows you the room waiting to be opened, which is the one that we didn't open. So you started a new room, but we found you. But again, if you need some training, let me know.
Thank you. Very interesting. Renee,
Yes.
now, would you have any tips to share? Any questions to ask? Go on.
My well, for me, what my question was to I'm developing content. I was focusing on authenticity relentlessly last week, and so my my next, excuse me, I'm gonna mute my phone because of, okay. So then I'm trying to get that together. I just got my new laptop, so I'll be making lists on my laptop. And I know they say you don't need anything to get started, but like I think I'm gonna start. I want to start jumping in a room, and even if anybody comes to, I'm trying to learn how to navigate Clubhouse, and then with now starting a room, how do I do that? That kind of thing. That's where I am right now. What do I need for me as a blind individual? What do I need to do this? And I don't think I need anything extra. And wait to do a podcast because I have my iPhone. That's what I have. It's the 13 Pro Max, but that's what I have. That's it.
Let's do this. Julie, you're here now. What advice would you give as a pro in this space? She wants to start a room, a clubhouse.
Wow. So
she's
excited
sharing her
for her.
story now. Go on, Julie.
Well, there's so many different things. First of all, I want to say how proud I am of Michael. Like, he is like the master of Clubhouse, the maestro of Clubhouse. I think, just because you are, you have deficits with your vision, having someone help you at the beginning and make the title catchy, right? And you can do it in Dominick's club. You can do it in my club. And I'm speaking for Michael. I have no idea if he has other people in his club leading rooms, but have someone help you and walk you through it. You can use Club Deck if that's also easier on your vision. And I apologize if I'm not quite sure like your limitations, but Club Deck you can download onto your computer, so you might be able to see it bigger than your phone as well. If it's easier for you to type on your computer, like type rather than on a phone.
Yeah.
So all you do if you want to download Club Deck, it's an app. You download it to your computer and you put your phone number in and then you get access. It's a little bit different layout than here on the phone. But, again, if you have someone to help you, I'm happy to help you too. Once you get the rhythm of it, it's really writing those catchy titles, if you will, putting a lot of emojis, in your titles.
Okay.
Just tell me a topic that you're thinking of.
Well, I remember, and I'm still kind of there actually, but as I just embraced my blindness like 2 years ago, and I was born legally blind, and so that feeling was and still is empowering. A burden was lifted off my shoulders. I felt free, and then because I embraced it, I was able to accept. There's a lot of tools and apps out there now that they weren't when I was, in high school. I just pretended I could see, and so
oh my gosh.
I didn't have to fake things anymore. It was such a relief, and it's embarrassing to say, "Oh, I can't see that," but
No.
people, as I got older, people were more forgiving, and so I had to realize that was then, this is now, and then since I can have all these acts, I have excuse me, I have an app called Bard, and it's where it gives me access to library books, and I've started, listening, and I read that book, and I read Mindset, the New Psychology for Success, and that book changed my life as well. I quit saying I can't do that because I can't see. I mentioned that I can't see, but then there's a way around it, and it's the approach. If one thing doesn't work, I try a different approach, and all of this is, there's so many things involved in this embracing my blindness that have impact. So I want to help anyone that knows somebody that's visually impaired or blind, and also it can help other people. I mean, I have a lot of people come to me and tell me that I've inspired them to go back to work, or I've inspired them to do other things because they think, well, if you can do it, then I can. Where I'm thinking,
hey, Renee.
yes,
Renee, I just want to jump in for a quick second. So, I've heard like a couple of
Mm-hmm.
things that you want to do in what you've been saying. So we started out talking about a podcast, and then we were talking about navigating Clubhouse, and
Mm-hmm.
Julie suggested maybe doing Club Deck if it's easier for you to navigate on a desktop
Mm-hmm.
rather than your phone. And we're talking about you inspiring people by embracing your blindness. All of these things are good, but I think like part of the sort of like the issue that you're running into
Mm-hmm.
is not picking one thing
Right.
on the list and knocking that
Yes.
thing off the list and then moving on to the next thing, right?
Okay.
So
Right.
like so you want to start a podcast? Cool. Like focus on that until you get a podcast off the ground, right?
Okay.
Like stick with it like long enough to make it happen. And if you like, if there are specific things that you need to get to that goal that you start to identify as you start to go through that process, then like ask specific questions, right? To kind of
Okay.
help get the right answers. So like if you want to start a podcast, like, yes, you're going to have to, can you start it with your phone? Yes, you can start by just recording on your phone. It'll work as a stopgap, as a short-term measure. But even that, like, will need to be edited to some extent. You will need to use a podcast hosting platform to get your podcast out into the world and get it listed on the different streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Stitcher and Google Play and all that fun stuff. So if that's what is like really drawing you right now, I would say pursue that. If you really are being drawn to spending more time on Clubhouse, then I would say pursue that. But like, and not to say that you can't do both simultaneously, but I think like I was unclear listening to you
Mm-hmm.
what your question was, because we were kind
I
of,
The
it
didn't
felt like
ask.
we
clarity
were
in the
She
jumping
asked me a
message.
around.
question.
I
She
hear.
asked me a question, and
Well,
then I
yeah,
went
but I
on.
think the clarity of the message, and from what I hear,
Right.
and as Tim said, or Tim, sorry, Tom,
Yeah.
he's absolutely right. And
Yes.
I heard that like just bouncing around with ideas, but what I heard, the single thread is that you want to inspire people who have limitations. If you can do it, they can do it. And
Right.
it's like, I'm blind, hear me roar.
Beautiful.
Yes.
No, and I agree with you, Tom. I know that I don't know. I mean, I can focus, but I'm not sure. I have this one way, another way, and I need to be focused. And
You are in the right place, Renee. So stick with us, and we're going to get you tools and tips and help you along that road. One of the things that early on today, I thought this same idea, and a lot of authors have been coming to me and people I work with, and they say, I want to use video for the first time. And they're in this thought of my message would be good on video. And so we got the video expert Tom in the house. And now but no, we don't always have Tom. Truth be told, we don't all have tens of thousands of dollars of equipment like yourself. So day one, how could we start to share our story with video?
Thanks, Dom. Yeah, I mean, look, Dom and I were talking about this, just so you guys know, we were talking about this kind of before we started the room, before we went live on our streaming channels. We are live, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that at the beginning of the room, but we're still doing the live broadcast like we've been doing across a whole bunch of platforms. We're a couple of different places on Facebook. We're on a couple of different places on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitch. So anyway, yeah, like Dom and I were talking about this before we opened the room up, and my answer, he asked me the same question, and my answer was, get your phone out of your pocket. We all walk around with a video camera in our pocket, right? And you can't, don't hold yourself to an unreasonable standard too, is the other side of that, right? Like Dom was saying, like, his video looks different than mine, right? And I'm saying, like, hey man, it's an apples and oranges comparison, right? Like, I've got, multiple thousands of dollars worth of equipment pointed at me. I've been in production for 20 years. People pay me to make pretty imagery on video for them, right? So like the way I look on camera is not the way everybody else is going to look on camera. And it's unreasonable to hold yourself to that standard. It's like looking at your favorite television show and being like, well, I could never create anything like that with my iPhone, so I'm not even going to try. I mean, that's silly, right? It's like watching a bike. It's like watching the Tour de France and then deciding you're never going to learn how to ride a bicycle because you can't possibly ride as fast as those guys, right? It's crazy talk. You don't have to ride as fast as those guys. You can still have fun on a bicycle without going that fast. Trust me, I know. And I know Dom knows too, because he loves riding his bike also. So just get your phone out of your pocket, get out of your own way, press record and make something, and then watch it back. Watch it back, learn from it, critique it, go out, record something, watch it back, learn from it, critique it, and over and over and over again. Rinse and repeat. The only way you're going to get better at creating video and delivering messaging on video is by practicing with video. So just do it. Get out of your own way. Nobody expects you to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. How's that, Dom? Does that answer the question?
I'm so into this subject, Tom, and there's so many great ways to tell a story, and sometimes people consume content so many different ways. Like even today, I see somebody's watching on Facebook right now on the live feed and commenting about my poster behind me. But there's so many ways to consume content. So this social audio app that we're on today, people are consuming it different ways, whether it's YouTube, whether it's social media, just like a book that you would write or a podcast. People listen to those different places. They listen to it in their car. My friend Harry Spate said he's driving right now. So there's so many different ways that you can consume all this content. And now the video is a great way to get people to consume your other products, because let's say people are refreshing their phone 120 times a day. If you are not there with video, with reels, with TikToks, will they ever find that other content that you have? So, hey, Ben, Julie, Dave, okay, we got to keep cruising here. So, Julie, do you make videos? How do you make them? Are you setting up a tripod? Are you using editing software? Are you turning your webcam on? Go on.
I love that. And I was like, just thinking, I got to call Tom. I need better videos. We do record our podcast episodes on video. I edit it. I upload it. I do all the work myself. It's very, very probably, grassroots videos, but we do it anyway because I know the importance of video. I know that creates connection with people, especially when there's been so much disconnection in the past 2 years, 3 years.
Hey, Julie and Tom, what do you think about, I love, even if it's Ashton Kutcher or Kim Kardashian or a buddy of mine when he's running a 5K, I got one of my authors, he runs with a thing on his head, and then at the end he'll show like the ice on his eyes and things like this. I've never run where I do a lot of running, but I've never run where ice forms on my eyebrows. And this guy, he's not using high-end equipment. He's turning the camera around and talking about ultra running and things like that. Michael, that authenticity that we were talking about. How interesting is it to know this guy runs through the woods with ice caked on his eyebrows and stuff like that? Super interesting. And he's only using probably his phone or whatever's on his head. Tom, go on.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first of all, for people listening and people who can't see, Dominick was sort of gesturing when he was talking about his friend who has things on his head. I don't know what things. He was making like gestures that look like he's wearing like little antennas on his head or something. What are the things? What are we talking about here? What's the
okay?
Things on his
Thank
head?
you for my clarifying. See, when you're on video, that's a mistake you learn. You got to tell a better story. So I'm telling you, number one, I think he wears a light on his head while he's out running. Like it looks like he has a helmet on. I thought it was a GoPro at first, but it's a strap around his head that carries this big giant light. And then his eyebrows get caked with layers and layers. It looks like he's got these thick eyebrows, but really they're ice. They're like, they have an inch of ice on them. So my point is, he's making a really highly interesting video that has captivated me, that I'm talking about his video 2 days later or a week later that he did on his iPhone. So that's it, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, to me, what it sounds like is there's a couple of things, right? Like, he found something that piques your interest, and if it piques one person's interest, it probably piques other people's interest as well. So he found something that piques people's interest, right? And he's a guy that does things that kind of fall out of the norm, right? And so people want to ask questions and they want to learn about it. Like, I found out it was really a funny thing. I'm going to actually just use this as an example. It came up in a conversation I had yesterday. So, like, I'm an Ironman triathlete, right? So I've done a half Ironman. I've done a full Ironman. I'm set up to do another full Ironman race later this year. To me, it's just something I do, right? It's just become kind of part of my day, and it's just something that I do, right? Other people are way more interested in Iron Man than I like recognize that they are, right? Or it seems to be that they would be from my sort of perspective, because it's something I do, right? It's one of those things, like, we always have a different perspective on our own lives, and we see ourselves a little bit differently than other people see us. And I'm sure your friend who's putting these videos up with, frost on his eyebrows and running at night with a big light on his head, to him, he's just putting it out because it's fun, right? And he has fun. That's what he chooses to do. He has fun running like that. And it's just part of his life, right? And we don't realize kind of what sort of some things that we do that might be extraordinary to other people until we say them out loud, right? And I've had that happen. Like, I've had other people mention, after I completed my Ironman, I've had people mention, like, tell other people or introduce me as an Ironman triathlete. And I'm like, oh, come on. And then the people will be shockingly interested, and it's just, it's like I did a video about this a couple of weeks ago. I had a crazy comparison. I don't know if I talked about this in the room, but I'm starting the process of working on a book on my legendeering process, right? And the publisher who approached me about working on that book described me as she said that she believes that I'm going to have the impact on me and my process, legendeering, are going to have the same impact on the video content space that Seth Godin had on the marketing space in the 90s. And I was like, you're out of your mind, was like my gut reaction to that. Like, I kind of started laughing. And I dismissed it. Like, that was my initial reaction to it. And then I thought about it a little bit after the fact, and I realized that really I had a choice to make, right? And the choice was, I could either continue to dismiss that as a laughable comparison, because who am I compared to Seth Godin, right? Who am I? I'm just some guy in the Hudson Valley in New York who, made himself look good on Zoom and used to work in TV, right? I'm just some guy here in New York, right? And that's how I kind of see myself most of the time. So I thought it was a ridiculous comparison. So I could either laugh it off and embrace that, or I could accept that other people saw me differently than how I see myself, and that I could take that as inspiration to work towards becoming the person that they see me as, right? To work towards living up to that perception. And so that's what I decided to do instead. Right. And so I think, it's probably at the root. I know that was kind of a long road to get there, but I think that's kind of what's at the root of what your friend is doing, Dom, is he's out there running and he sees his life as this is just out for a fun run, and he's just making some fun, silly content out of it. And you're looking at it going, oh my God, this guy's inspirational. This is crazy. I've never seen anybody do something like this. Like, what dedication, what commitment, like all of these things. And he's like, I just went out for a run and made a silly video. Right. So I just think I think it's just a difference in perception. It always looks different depending on where you're sitting. Right.
And Tom, I believe in what you're talking about. And if you were talking about pillars of social media and how you share your your content, how you're sharing your content, whether it's this is my business, this is my ass, this is my product, this is this kind of stuff. I think anybody in this room should add to their content documenting. And like Michael spending time with his mom, he shared that picture. It's not necessarily, but it's documenting your world. If I turned and you saw the computers here, all the books sitting around me, or me paddling a boat somewhere, or whatever weird stuff that I'm into, that is part of helping people tell their stories. And sometimes it's kooky. I get it, but it's my world. So speaking of never kooky, always on point, the man behind, I'm going to go Johnny. Then Johnny raised his hand, but I think he's perfect to talk to here, because Johnny tells a story visually. It's incredible. He's doing ghost tours. He's doing back of the cereal box where they wear their pajamas and have a podcast. He's so visual. He's able to tell a story so many ways, and he can even sing. So Johnny, we're going to go Johnny, then Dave, and then my buddy Brian and Elizabeth. Okay, that's my flow right now. So Johnny, you're up, my friend.
Hey, Dominick. Good morning, everybody. So I raised my hand because I heard the conversation about camera, and you were saying, I think he just uses his phone. Let's not dismiss the camera in our pocket. If you have a recent generation phone, and I'm talking like iPhone 10 or a comparable Android, or newer, you have got a high def 4K camera in your hand. It is broadcast quality, high definition. And you can be creating amazing 4K HD videos right off your phone. So don't ever say, well, all I have is my phone. That's all I can use to create video. No, you've got your phone. Use it.
I just wanted to jump in there, Johnny. I think you're 100% right, and you're essentially echoing something I said, I think, right before you came into the room, where I was talking about getting your phone out of your pocket and using that tool that you have access to. The one thing I would say is there's sort of like two provisos there, right? Like, yes, do you have a camera in your pocket, especially if it's a recent generation smartphone? Do you have a camera in your pocket that is 4K or HD capable? Yes. Would I say that's broadcast quality? Probably not, right? Like, and it also depends on whose hand the camera is in, right? So it's sort of like, think about it. I like to think about it like, I equate things to different tools and things that people are try to draw analogies wherever I can, but think of it like a hammer, right? Like, I own a hammer. I know how to swing a hammer. Can I use a hammer to put a nail into a piece of wood? Absolutely. Does that make me a master carpenter? No. Does it mean that something I build with my hammer is going to turn out as good as something that somebody else builds using the same hammer who's been doing it for 20 years, that's their craft? No. So like, I just want to couch that because I want to make sure that people don't get frustrated with pulling out their phone and expecting, having like a high quality, like, look, the cameras in our phones are phenomenal. They're better than what used to be the broadcast standard when I started in television. They record at higher frame rates. They do all kinds of things that we didn't have access to or was incredibly expensive to do, even in the professional world 20 years ago. So are they great tools? Absolutely. Should everybody use them? Absolutely. But don't put the expectation on yourself that because you have a 4K camera, it's going to look like the things you're used to seeing broadcast on like Netflix or Hulu or Peacock, or if you still have TV, I guess some people still have regular TV, then, a cable channel or something like that, because it's just not going to look like that. Right. But get it out, get the tool out, use the tool, practice with the tool. The only way to get better at it is practice, right? Practice makes perfect. That old adage, right? I think we've all heard that. So start chipping away at your 10,000 hours in recording your own video content, and you'll see results. You'll see positive results over time.
Well, and for me, it comes down to a quote that I heard repeated over and over when I was a kid, as an Amway kid. Um, we were, our family friend, Dr. Robert Schuller, used to always say, don't just sit there, do something. And everybody has to start, and never be afraid to start. Where you start is not where you're going to end up, but don't be afraid to start, and start where you are with what you have and do the best you can. And the evolution will come through time.
100% agree, Johnny. 100% agree. And I'm going to say it again. Get your phone out of your pocket. Start recording. Practice, practice, practice. Record something, watch it back, critique it, improve it, do it again. Rinse and repeat, do it over and over again. Start chipping away at your 10,000 hours, and your video content will improve over time. But like Johnny just said, everybody has to start somewhere. Don't be afraid to get up and start moving.
Tom, I shared my YouTube channel, and I want people to look. I've been making videos for like 5 years, some with a lot with my phone. Sometimes I have a little handheld camera, and I want people to see from the first video where I'm probably look like a ghost, and there's no edits, to where I'm at today, just from trying to get into 10,000 hours. And one of the things I mentioned to Tom is I'm in the book business, but I believe in sharing stories all these different ways. And you'll see that being able to share the story on the YouTube and video has opened doors for me as well, where I was able to pitch screenplays where people said the only reason you're here is because we saw these other videos, and now we're going to listen to we're going to hear your pitch for this. I actually, Tom, I started a TV show recently. It's called Bikes and Hikes, and I'm on with another guy, program director, called me. He said, you want to do it? And we're filming. First show, he's like, here's the camera. He gives me like big cameras like this. And I'm like, oh, how do you even turn it on? He's like, well, we have 4 different cameras. We have different mics. And it was all just from learning inch by inch and just trying to share a story. Okay, let's meet Dave. Johnny, appreciate you being here. Carmen, thanks for dropping up. Dave, we're talking step 1 of sharing your story on video. If you have any questions or you want to drop a tip, jump in. My man with the best hat in the room. Love that hat, man.
Thank you, Dom. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to subscribe to your YouTube channel now as well. I love what Tom was saying about practice too. And I heard like that practice makes perfect phrase a little bit differently. And I really kind of like this one better because it handles my perfectionism. Practice makes improvement. You can always better your best, right? So if we're always going towards a state of improvement, right now I've been working on kind of my video content for the past probably about month and a half. So, or it started at the beginning of the year. I decided that I wanted to make 1 video a day based on the Daily Stoic. And January didn't go so well, but February I sat down, I created some discipline for myself. And the videos, like it's for me, it's like you guys said, right? It's taking those actions. I'm right now just shooting the bow. It's nowhere near the target that I want to go, but I know that all those times will get me closer and closer to the target that I want to hit. It's finding that opportunity to take that action. And, especially I think for us a little bit older, we didn't grow up with the cell phone in the pocket, right? Like most of us probably, I'm going to guess most of us on stage didn't have a cell phone, and especially a smartphone until probably you're like your 20s, 30s, or 40s, right? So you got these kids coming up that now are just like, all right, boom, we put out video content, we do it. So I think for us, it becomes that kind of challenge of learning how to say our story and get it out there. And I think it's that authenticity. Like I just realized I was watching back over one of my old videos and my hair is all sticking up and it's all kind of crazy. But I'm like, I like it. I'm not going to be worried about whether my hair looks nice because I just want to get out the content and practice and keep going. Love this conversation. Love what you've been saying, Dom, Tom, and everybody. Very good, very good. Yay. I wish you all a great, if not better day. I'm done.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Dave. And just keep persisting, right? He's telling us he's out there doing it. He's moving forward. Like Johnny said, he's taking action. Like Tom said, pulling the phone out and doing it. Some days his hair may be messed up, but some days you may not record for the first 5 minutes, or you may do like I did and set the room up in the wrong place. Those kind of things happen. But hey, now we have somebody who is always willing to share his story. I saw him out. We're talking about video content that's interesting. This is my friend Brian P. Swift. I saw him out in the snow. He is in his wheelchair with no shirt on, out exercising. Brian, what the hell are you doing? And like Brian, like Tom, we were talking, super interesting. I don't know what he's into, but I'm intrigued. Go on, Brian.
Well, thank you for the intro, Dom, and great content as always. With Tom, I've learned so much from you. Johnny, learned so much from you. I'm in this room a lot with other rooms with these gentlemen. They're phenomenal. Yeah, the whole exercise thing. So people in wheelchairs, quads, and pairs, they struggle with temperature and dealing with the cold. And when I got hurt years ago, kind of had old school parents that kind of just pushed me along the way. So I am a believer in kind of pushing myself towards the pain. That's how you deal with pain. So because it's difficult to deal with the cold, I will go outside and exercise and just try to put my mind in a place where I don't feel the cold. Kind of self-imposed. I don't want to call it pain, but self-imposed. Uh, I'll call it. I don't know. Self-imposed. Uh, I guess.
Tolerance?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to put yourself through it. Like I go riding, and I know I could ride in my wheelchair 4 miles without a problem. That's my almost daily ride for exercise. To get out mentally. I love being outside, grounding and whatnot. So if I want to self-impose discomfort, that's what I like to call it. So I'll go riding 2 miles away and know that I could turn around and come back and I'll be okay. So when I am in that mood to really push myself and to really test myself, or just, you're having one of those days and that's how I'll get my frustration out, I'll push myself 3 miles from the house, knowing that, and I've done 5, I've done 6, but I'll push myself, 3, 4 miles from the house. So yes, I like to do those types of things to kind of push myself. Kind of like Tom. You asked Tom why, uh, I'm sure he didn't start out doing Ironman. Um, I'm sure he started doing sprint triathlons or biathlons and sprint type of events, because you have to qualify, and then you do half marathons, and then you do full marathons, and then you're onto your Ironman events. So, which I have seen many people prepare for, and it is an amazing feat, and they do deserve to be called Ironmen. I have trained with women that do them. I swam with a woman that does them, and does also this crazy amount of biking. So I just think you've heard this term. You've got to surround yourself with become the sum of the 5 people you are around. So I like to surround myself with those type of people. In terms of telling your story, I agree 100%. And the old, practice makes perfect analogy that was just given, I'll take it further. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And you have to improve your practice in order to make it perfect. And in terms of telling your story, um, what I've struggled with, even though Dom says, see me out this way or that way, is getting past, and maybe it's a generation thing, of this, and I'm sure it's part of being an entrepreneur, getting past self-promotion. And I know I still struggle with that, because I look at some of the things I do as just me doing them. I don't look at it as, kind of your analogy, Tom, where the person said you're going to be the next Seth Golden, and kind of just rolled off you. I just do because that is me, and sometimes I don't, maybe it should be promoted, maybe I should be videoing it, but it's hard to, sometimes for me, it's just like, I don't see it as anything extraordinary, and I just don't view it as something that should be, I don't know, taped, because it almost feels too self-promoting. So I appreciate the time. I'm complete.
I wanted to jump on something Brian said there that I think I actually really like as a way to describe what you're doing, and that is discomfort. My friend Chris Fraze, who's a phenomenal dog behaviorist and trainer up in the great state of Maine, was commenting on Facebook and highlighting that as well. And yeah, I mean, discomfort is where we do the most learning. Discomfort is where we gain the most, where we get better at what we're trying to do. So make yourself uncomfortable. It's the best way to learn. And it's the best way to get over that hump of resistance that we all face when it comes to trying something new or adopting something new. Brian's 100% right. I started out, the first triathlon I did was a sprint distance triathlon, right? So you got to start somewhere. I didn't say, oh, well, I could never do an Ironman, so I'm just not going to get off the couch, right? I started somewhere. I got on a bike. I went for a short run. I did a little bit of swimming. And eventually I worked my way up over the course of a number of years to doing an Ironman, right? So you got to start somewhere. And actually, I want to encourage people to relish being uncomfortable. Learn to enjoy being uncomfortable. Put yourself on if you are uncomfortable being on camera, put yourself on camera. If you are uncomfortable going for a bike ride, get on a bike. If you are uncomfortable posting on social media or writing down your story, do it. That's your indication you should do it more. And my friend Chris Fraze just commented again on Facebook, said your comfort zone will kill your growth. And that is 100% true. If you are comfortable in everything you do, then you will never get better at anything, right? If you are comfortable in everything you do, you will never get better at anything. Get out of your comfort zone, relish being uncomfortable.
So, hey, that's a great segue for someone who just came up on stage, Dom. Producer Jemmy, who's down there, got out of her comfort zone regarding video and doing reels on Instagram. And I think it's paid off in a big way for her. And I would love to hear producer Jemmy talk about getting out of your comfort zone.
Johnny, I agree, because I'm all in on producer Jimmy content. That I need more of it. I don't. Are you following? You're not on TikTok yet, Johnny. We need your magic there. But I'm following producer Jimmy on TikTok and on her reels. She's killing it. So producer Jimmy, now the pressure is on you to deliver on all these positive vibes and this high bar we've set for you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, when it comes to being uncomfortable on video, as a woman especially, I think it's a little extra for us because there's a lot of extra pressure in how we show up on video. But for me personally, it went way beyond that, a lot deeper than that. I have some childhood trauma that was really affecting how I saw myself, to the point where I literally couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I didn't look at myself in the mirror for about 10, 15 years. That is a true statement. And so for me, showing up on video, imagine if I can't even look in my mirror, how terrifying that truly has been. So when I did decide that I had to try, I think is when I recognized where the problem was coming from. Um, in order to solve a problem, you have to identify it first, right? Kind of a thing. And because I was able to finally zero in on where that started and how that started and why it started, and then realizing that the point where that started was a point that I was a little girl, completely vulnerable, and there was nothing I could have done, and I had to forgive that little girl and tell her she's strong and build her up in order for me to feel like I could move forward in this current stage of life. And it was tough. It was a mental journey. Um, so if there's something holding you back, it may be below the surface that you have to dig in order to find what that is. But then when you find it, face it and tell that monster it's not okay and it's not welcome to get the hell out of your life. I decided to throw a shawl of protection around 7-year-old me and tell her she's beautiful and she's wonderful and she's going to grow up and do amazing things. And I said that enough times that 42-year-old me started to actually believe it. And so I got the courage to do TikTok and Reels, and it became a lot of fun. And I realized that the creativity that I've enjoyed by creating podcasts, this was like another outlet for creativity because you can get really creative, especially with TikTok, with how you do it. So then I started to have a lot of fun with it. And I'll be honest, I'm coming back from I had another setback in November for Thanksgiving. I had to see the person who hurt 7-year-old Jemmy. Actually 1.5-year-old through 7-year-old Jemmy. And that really sent me down a spiral, and I'm starting to try to come back. So if you look at my Instagram grid, it really shows that story because you'll see you have to scroll quite a bit to find the videos of me that I did when I had my breakthrough. And in between that and now are a whole bunch of just straight up episode posts, nothing else. And it's not until the last maybe week or two that I've put up a couple more posts about me with my face. And I'm trying to do it more. I'm finding my path back there. So thank you for giving me enough space to share all of that. But I just want to say, no matter what's holding you back, you can do video. You are beautiful, you're worthy, and people need to know who you are and what you have to say. So thank you so much for that space. I appreciate you guys. What a wonderful room. As always, I'm complete.
I just want
Go
to
ahead.
say
Go ahead, Tom.
thank you, Jemmy. That's it. I just wanted to say thank you. Thanks, Jemmy. Appreciate it.
And really, and we talk about this a lot in this room, Tom, of trying to set up a safe space where whether you're posting your first video, whether you've had some trauma, whether people have been bullying you, in other cases, people come on and said that's not happening here. We have your back and we're here to support everybody in this room, just like you've supported us over the years and with your smile. And producer Jemmy is somebody that her smile is so genuine that there's times I'm driving down the road that I'm just like, I am going to call her on Instagram right now because I need a dose of whatever it is she has. I might be 10 states away, but I'm like, you're lifting people. Even when you think about this, the power that each of you have with the story and things like that, even when somebody's hurting, she's still able to lift other people. So powerful. I wrote down when she was talking, she is genuine, strong, and beautiful inside and out. So, producer Jimmy, thank you. We appreciate you being here. And Johnny, thanks for, it's perfect to talk to her. Let's reset. We're resetting here, Tom. Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We do this every Wednesday. We created a club. I blew it this week and didn't put the room in the club, so I'm working on that. Next week, I'll try to verify a couple times, and then so if you follow the club, you'll get an extra ping that we're having the room. For anybody that hasn't, if you're watching on, I see some comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Thanks for checking it out. If you haven't tried social audio, it's a great place to share your story, great place to network and meet people like Julie and Jimmy and Renee and Carmen, who we're going to meet next. I like Carmen's bio, so this is perfect timing. The first words of her bio. Thanks for checking out my bio. My superpower is I make up stories. This is the kind of person I want to hang out with. So, Carmen, you've heard what we're talking about today. So if you want to ask a question or give us a tip to video or content, the floor is yours.
Hi, Dominic. Thank you so much. I love that introduction. I love what's been said today. And with Jamie, I really need to echo what she said with women in video, especially. I was going to ask you a question because, as Johnny had mentioned about using your phone to video, which I have done. However, I echo, like I said, what Jamie said, and I don't see basically with StreamYard and stuff like that, or Zoom, you can just regulate, filter out some things. And I have not figured out how to do that with my phone yet. And I, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but I record myself reading my children's books and on my iPhone, and I send them off to this nonprofit organization, Love Smiles, that pertains to the oncology pediatric wards for the Children's Hospital. And what happens is once that video is sent to them, the children's family get to download that video and get to watch an author as they read to them. Now, I personally have just during their infusion, so just to help them to escape. So I just wanted to say that during their harsh realities. So with that said, is there a different way that I can do that? Because I need to record my next title, the one that I just have published, Pocky the Duck, and I need to send that. And sometimes the file's a little heavy, so I was just curious. I've used Dropbox in the past as well. So there we go. Loaded question, Dominic.
Are you, Carmen, I'm going to jump in here. Are you looking for ways to improve the video that you're creating with your phone? Am I understanding your question correctly? Is there a specific thing you're trying to accomplish, or just general how to record the best video with your phone?
Yes, I'm just trying to look for the best way to record with my phone. I've already sent her 4 videos and looking to hopefully get the best out of what I can for these children. So, yes, what would be the best scenario with the phone?
Okay, so 2 quick, easy tips. The first is one of the most overlooked components of any good video project is audio, right? And if you're reading, audio is incredibly important. Having a clear sound to your voice, good quality audio is incredibly important. One of the things that people forget is that the microphones in our phones are tiny. They're teeny tiny little microphones, and if you put them any more than maybe 6 to 12 inches from your face, they are going to rapidly decline in quality. So if your phone is 3 feet away from you to set up the shot correctly, you're going to sound like you're yelling from the bottom of a barrel as you read. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is to get a microphone. There are like a bunch of different ways that you can do this. You can buy microphones that are specifically designed, and I'm not going to endorse a particular one, but if you Google microphones for iPhone, you can get a microphone that's specifically designed to connect to like an iPhone or another smartphone. So you can do that. You can use a headset. If you have Bluetooth headphones or AirPods or something like that, you can use those to record your audio, to have better audio, have the mic closer to your mouth. So proximity matters. Dominick's showing he's got a little microphone that he uses for his camera, which he should also be using for Zoom if he's not, Dominick. So just a little admonition there for you. And for anybody watching us on video right now, they can see I have a big microphone kind of right here next to me. It's a professional quality large diaphragm condenser microphone. And so that's why I sound the way I sound on video. So audio is hugely important. The other thing, which is like just a super quick, easy tip for people to do, is to turn on the grid lines on your phone. So everybody's phone in the camera app will have grid lines, right? I want you to turn those grid lines on. And when you look at those grid lines, it basically divides your phone up into like a tic-tac-toe board. Okay. And what those grid lines do is they give you the ability to adhere to what's in photography and art is called the rule of thirds. And the rule of thirds basically says that you should, using those grid lines, place the subject of your video along one of those lines or an intersection between two of those lines. So if you want to center yourself left to right in frame, and if you go and look at any of these videos online, you can see that I'm sitting left to right, I'm centered in frame, but my face is kind of up towards the top of the frame. And if you actually were to overlay those grid lines, which I can do in other circumstances, I can't do right now, but if you were to overlay those grid lines, you'd see that one of those grid lines goes right through where my eyes are, right? So I'm lining up myself because I'm the subject. I'm in this video, what I want you to pay attention to. I'm lining myself up along that grid line, right? So I'm putting my eyes along that grid line because I want you looking at my eyes, right? So it's that's just an easy way to do it. Put the grid lines on your camera, line yourself up along one of those grid lines. If you're filming yourself, you want to have your head towards the top of frame. Do not center yourself. Don't put your face in that center box. Put your face towards the top of frame. Put your eyes along that upper grid line. Put yourself, slightly off center, left or right, and put your eyes on one of those intersections of the grid lines, and you'll get a much better visually, aesthetically pleasing result. And then make sure you have good audio, and both of those things should show you a pretty quick, easy increase and improvement in the quality of the videos that you're creating with your phone. Does that help answer the question for you, Carmen?
Yes, absolutely. Because what I was using, Tom, is I bought a ring, and then of course it has the area to go ahead and put your phone. So that's what I did, is I put the phone with the ring and did certain lighting, and I just went from there. So there was no filters or like you said, work going on to the phone app side with the grid line. And when you're reading, I have to sometimes look at the book and turn the page, as you mentioned, the microphone, which is very important, because if you're turning your face at all, obviously it took me some tries. The phone will obviously see your voice come in and out, so that is really important. And I needed to be animated for these children as well, so that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
No problem. You said my Dom heard you say ring light and smiled on the video because he knows how I feel about ring lights. And I'm not. I'll just put it this way: I'm not a big fan. They're good for they're good for a very particular use case, but they're not, like, for example, in my professional lighting setup that I have set up in my office to create this sort of studio look that I have here, I am using no ring lights. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's fine. I totally like, use what you have, right? So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you got to throw it away and go spend like crazy money on lights. Use what you have. I just personally have a have a thing with ring lights, but yeah. So I think get a microphone that you can have sort of in close proximity to your mouth. It's one of those things. Distance matters, right? With microphones, as does the size of the diaphragm in the microphone. So the bigger the diaphragm in the microphone, the better sound quality it will pick up, and the closer to your mouth it is, the better sound quality and the less echo it will pick up. So yeah, so I would suggest those two things for sure. And don't worry about filters. Just record yourself. Don't. I tend to. I have a strong. Also have a strong. I'm a little bit opinionated sometimes, but I have a strong dislike for Zoom backgrounds. The virtual backgrounds on Zoom, I hate
Yeah.
them. I hate
Yes.
them. and people use them all the time, and they never look good, and they're distracting, and they make you look cheesy, and they don't work, and people should stop using them and actually just clean up their freaking office and make sure your background looks okay. So
And
take 5 minutes,
Tom,
clean your office up. But anyway,
Tom,
sorry. Go ahead, Dom.
no,
Cut me off. Cut me off.
okay, no, you're on fire, man, and I'm.
Oh, Dominic, I lost you there, buddy. Did you
Dominick accidentally threw himself off of Clubhouse.
Dominic kicked himself out of the room, I think. That's
No,
it. That's
he's
it. It's
down
anarchy.
below.
It's anarchy.
He's down
Anarchy
below.
is taking over. Anarchy is taking over, and now we're just gonna have a free for all. Oh, now I have to invite him onto stage. Should I? Who thinks I should invite him onto stage? There he is.
Don't do it.
Hey,
No,
Tom, I got to agree with you with those virtual backdrops. I hate those. Hate it.
Yeah, man, not a fan at all.
What
Let
about with
me
the green screen?
Yeah, let me talk. I want to jump on this after I kicked myself off because I was so worked up about it. Talk about being inauthentic. Somebody so you're going to show me an office that isn't your office. You're going to show me an office that looks like you're in a penthouse in New York City or something like that. Well, I know that's not where you work. We're starting our relationship, but they like you, they trust you, they buy from you. If you're trying to eventually maybe have a meeting and sell some product, well, we're establishing a relationship where you're on the beach behind me. I'm in a fake house that isn't. I hate it. Plus, like Tom says, it looks corny. I knew we were going to set him off on this. So let's go. We got more people somebody that always has an opinion. Always has an opinion. We're going to go to Ben, and then we'll get moving here. So, Ben, jump in here, my
I'm
man.
gonna disagree with both of you, even though I'm probably wrong. I think they're overused. I think people use them terribly. But like, if I'm jammed into the corner of my little 1-bedroom apartment that I share with my girlfriend, and I can't get anything good looking behind me or lighting or anything, but I did get a green screen recently. There's some decent ones that at least make me look better than the bullshit that's behind me, and I can get some good lighting. So like,
That's
when
fair.
I'm
Go
given
on,
those
Ben.
two
Go on.
options,
This is a good.
when I'm
This is good, Ben.
I
Continue.
don't have a good desk to show. Like, there's nowhere to clean up that makes sense. And so, like, I think I agree if you're doing it to try to pretend like you're a multimillionaire or something. But if I just want to look like I'm in a normal place and not like in a shoebox or like in a closet, what do you think about those situations, Tom?
I have an opinion on this. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy some PVC pipe real cheap, and go to Target and get some curtains real cheap and create a backdrop that is going to be 100 times more acceptable than a fake virtual backdrop. That's my opinion.
I'm with Johnny there, and I think Ben, I would say too, like, again, we're pushing authenticity, right? Like, I tell people all the time, I actually sort of brag about the fact when I'm on video, and Ben, you've seen me on video. We've been,
Yeah,
we've done
your
a
room
call
looks so
together,
good.
right?
And
But
your
like,
quality of video is great. Yeah.
people think my office, my setup, they think it's a fake background, and I like brag to them, like I have a thing where I'll turn around and I'll put my water bottle on the shelf behind me just to prove that it's actually there, that it's real.
It does
right?
look that good. It's pretty much basically like your picture right now.
Yeah, it's exactly what it. I
Looks
mean, that's how
amazing.
I took that picture, right? I took that picture. My profile picture on Clubhouse is a picture of me sitting at my desk on Zoom, right? Like, that's where that picture came from. So that's what my Zoom setup legitimately looks like. But, and I'm not saying like everybody should try to make theirs look like mine. I realize that that's a completely kind of ridiculous bar to set for everybody else. Like, it's a, but that said, I'm with Dom. I would rather see the corner of your apartment than see a fake background. just because I feel like that's authentic. And it's something you can talk about too. Like, hey, I'm stuck in the corner of my apartment today. Like, coming to you live from the corner, right? And you can sort of make a little bit of a self-deprecating joke about it.
It's on brand for me, for sure.
But
Right.
could you give?
Guy.
Could you? What
And I'm
about?
also,
What about Tom?
I was just going to say one really quick. I'm also with Johnny. Like, go to Home Depot, go to Target, like get a curtain rod, get some PVC pipe, get on Amazon. You can buy like a backdrop setup for like $30, right? Like, and you can put up a couple of curtains on that, and like, boom, you got a background, right? So
What about those ones that are like faded, like it's just blurred out in the back? What are your thoughts on that for somebody like Ben?
I don't like the fake blurring effect because it kind of does the same thing that the fake backgrounds do, right? And that is that it creates, because what the computer is trying to do is it's looking for areas of high contrast and trying to determine where you end and where whatever's behind you begins, right? And it just ends up looking fake and cheap. Right. So like my background is very blurry, but that's because of the camera that I'm using. It's not because of some filter that I've put on. Right. And there are ways to achieve that. But again, like it's an investment, right? And it takes time and it takes it takes expertise to get a setup to look like mine. So I don't expect other people to do it, but I do think you're better off. Like Dom, I would rather see all the things on your wall behind you, right? Like for anybody looking at this video, for anybody looking at this live, Dom's got all kinds of interesting stuff like on his walls, on, sports memorabilia, all kinds of things that he loves, his Goodfellas poster that's always there, right? Like all of those things, like I want to see that because that tells me a little bit about who Dom is, right? So like let people know who you are, put something behind you, like, and worst case, make a joke out of it, right? Like we're all sometimes working from home under less than ideal circumstances, in our corner, in the bedroom, in the kitchen, in the corner, in wherever. I actually have a friend I was on Zoom with. He was in his laundry room in his house because that was the only place he could. It was when his kids were still home. They were doing school from home, and it was the only place he could be was in the laundry room. It was the only quiet place in the house. So like that's where he was on our Zoom call, right? Like, and we laughed about it. It just, it is what it is. So I think like, I think own it and be authentic with it, rather than hiding it behind a fake background is my.
So even with the green screen, just get rid of the green screen. Go do the real thing or the PVC pipe move. You'd say.
Yes. Green screen is incredibly difficult to pull off well. And I'm going to tell you right now that Zoom as a software program doesn't do it very well. Right. Because a lot of what green screen relies on is proper lighting. And even then it's a very processing heavy thing to get it to actually look good. So I would always eschew using a green screen as well.
Hey, it's Jimmy. I just want to jump off of what Tom was saying about being authentic and share that, okay, as a single mom, running a business and all these things, it's for me, being concerned about my background, it was tricky. When do I, for me to justify saying, let me put up some decorations. Well, decorations don't feed my kids. So it's hard. It's been hard to make those decisions. So I just wanted to add in something that's completely free. I love Johnny's idea. I love it. But this is also a completely free idea. And it involves looking at your house. What do you have in your own home that is already representing you and authentic to who you are because it's already there, that you can use, that is interesting? And one of the first things that I decided to do was I took a shelf that I wasn't really using and I moved it so that it was behind me. And then I just took stuff that is relevant to my kooky, quirky personality and I put it on the shelf. And it made it an interesting background that's relevant to me. It's not messy. It's interesting. And so anyways, that was just an idea I wanted to throw out there. It's completely free and it's also authentic and complete.
Great idea. I love that.
Producer
I can
Jimmy.
chime in.
Okay, hold on here. Let's see who we got. Oh, who said they wanted to chime in on that?
Real quick.
Go ahead, Nick. Well, thanks for being here too, my friend.
Yeah, no problem. You guys got me talking about this. I've never used Zoom in my life yet. I'm fortunate enough, but I do consume a lot of content involving it, and I think it's funny. I don't know if you guys heard of Frankie Lapina on TikTok. He basically did all Zoom stuff during the pandemic, so he specialized in using green screen and going like on a boat and green screening a Zoom call, like funny stuff like that. And he's built up quite a following enough where NFL actually, contracted him to do his own video. So if you're looking for ideas, go look at what he does, because the funnier it is, the better it is for me.
Nick, thanks, man. Thanks for jumping in here. And Nick's an interesting one. You got to go follow his if it's follow his reels, follow his TikTok. I heard the other day that his TikTok has hit about 1 billion views altogether. So you start to think about, with that kind of exposure, if your story got out to 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. So we have people all the time that come through here that say, video's not for me, books aren't for me, TikTok's not for me, Clubhouse isn't for me. And here's a guy. Is it 1 billion, Nick? I mean, I know it's a couple 100 million.
Yeah, I don't have it. There's no exact counter for it. There's no like system for it. I use that hashtag to keep track of it. I mean, like I was saying, half of it, I did it halfway through my year long on TikTok, and it's at like 560 million. So I think I did a manual count once, and it was over 1 billion between everything. Yeah, just on TikTok.
So everybody in this room today, when you think about storytelling, how you're going to tell your story, think about that. There's all these great places that people are consuming content. And here's somebody that hundreds of millions of views. He was able to tell his story. Hey, Nick. So with these, this is going to go back to our original Johnny. You guys will appreciate that. Nick, we're just wondering here. I'm wondering. So to get 1 million or 1 billion, 500,000, what did you have a fancy camera set up there, or what kind of cameras were you using?
No, honestly, you can do it with just your phone. I mean, I started with, I think, 11 or 12. I think I have a 12 now, 12 Pro Max. So I usually do the best so I can do nice 4K videos. So yeah, I shoot everything 4K, 30 or 60 FPS. I do have special lighting. I have special stands for everything. Because if you look at my videos, it's a lot of overhead cams. So I have an actual wall-mounted, mount that holds the cam perfectly still and doesn't shake whatsoever. And I have a POV cam that's actually wrapped around my neck. It's all low cost stuff. I mean, you could, everyone's got a phone. You can start shooting with any phone you have. And then the equipment to do stuff that I'm doing, like it's under like $200, $250 maybe. So it doesn't take much to do it. And I wouldn't even worry about buying stuff. I mean, just use your phone and start shooting. That's all. I was using one of my, I have like spare rolls because I do a bunch of printing. So I use basically just a tube, and they get like a little foot to hold the tube up. So I was jamming my phone on top of the tube and then putting it on top of my table. So every time I would do an order and pack it, it would shake the whole tube. But I went viral off that shaky video. So like it really doesn't matter. If it's still good content, it's going to be good either way.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. I mean, I think it seems to be a recurring theme today. We've talked about this a few times in the room today, and that is to just get your phone out and start, right? And that's exactly what you did, Nick, right? You got your phone out, you started, you practiced, you refined, right? You made it better over time, but that's exactly what you did, is you got your phone out and you started. And that's what matters. So yeah, so I just want to thank you for that, thanks for bringing that around, for me. So, Dom, I don't know what your order looks like over here. So I'm not sure who we've got up next. I know.
Hey, let's go. I got on mine. I'm interested because we got Tezra, and I love this idea of unity that she's leading with on the profile, Tezra. So if you'd like to ask a question, drop a tip, introduce yourself. That's who I think we're up to, Tom.
Sounds good to me. Tezra, what you got?
Hi, great day, everyone. I'm driving. So My name is Tezra, the Division Slayer, and I am entering this space of taking my message to the public speaking level, right? So it is just what you said. I just started getting on YouTube. I just created a channel, but I don't know anything about anything. But I did want to start just practicing being on camera. And to Jenny's point, especially as females, right? We want to have our filters on, our lightings on, our cheeks all rosy and looking nice and cute. Um, but sometimes that can hold us back and get in our way of progress. And by the way, I just love Jenny. I love her personality. I love her humor. I love her energy. I just love it. And I love the energy of this room too. So thank you, everyone. But so what I did though, like last night, I was dog tired. I'm in the restaurant industry. And so I just worked the restaurant show in New York. That's where I live in the New York area. And so I was going to use that as an excuse not to go on YouTube, not to film, because I was not looking cute. I was, all over the place. But I said, you know what? I'm going to do it and I'm going to go live with it. However I look is how I look. It's kind of like the Oprah Winfrey effect. Like Oprah, sometimes you will see her go on camera with just barefaced and looking nothing like she looks on her show, but that makes her human and that makes her relatable. So that is where I am going with just being comfortable with whatever, like manning it, because men, they don't care either. So that's where I'm going. But I did have a question. So I just bought a webcam because I like the idea of having different I don't points of views or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but different views, right? So I did buy a webcam, but when I connected it to my computer, now my computer camera doesn't work. So I can't get those two different angles that I would like. So if somebody can help me, how do I get multiple cameras going at one time? Thank you. This is Tezra, and I'm complete.
Hey Tezra, I think Jemmy, did you have a thought on that? Did you want to jump in?
I have the starting of a thought, and I hope someone can fill in my blanks. I just did close out a project, and we did something like that. We needed multiple angles. I was not the procurer of the equipment, but what they got was, I think it was called a sling camera set. And and so I'll explain real quick why what happened. Your computer can only accept the input of video from one source. So what you need is a camera setup that creates and feeds through a single source multiple angle possibilities and that you can switch back and forth from. And I believe what they got was called Sling. So if anybody can correct or affirm that, please let me know, but I hope that helps. Thanks.
Yeah, I think so. What you're running into, you're dead on the money there, Jemmy. The problem is that your computer will only recognize one, and actually, it's not a hardware issue; it's a software issue more than likely. So what's happening is the software you're using can only recognize one camera input at a time, and so it's either the webcam or the camera on your computer, but it can't be both simultaneously. So what you need is software that'll allow you to choose different cameras. And so what I would recommend as like a good place to start, if you're trying to have both camera angles on screen simultaneously, there are also ways to do this with this software. But if you're looking to just kind of switch back and forth and you want a quick software option, then you should be able to use a program called OBS, which is actually the software that I'm using right now for our live stream to be able to put up the image of our Clubhouse room on the internet, right? So I have an image of Clubhouse on the internet on a phone, like kind of on this live screen on camera with myself and Dom currently. And so you can use OBS to switch between camera inputs. That's one way to do it. And then the other way to do it is to use a digital streaming software. There's a whole bunch of them out there. There's StreamYard, there's Restream. There's all kinds of different options there. And so that might be an option to use as well. And for those, like for Restream, for example, to select different cameras and have them feeding in to one feed, it's as simple as opening up another browser window and logging in and using a different camera on that browser window. So it's really easy to do. But those would be the two ways to do it. I would say look at OBS, which is just obsproject.com, or look at Restream, which is Restream, RESTREAM.io. Those are my 2 suggestions. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. And thankfully, I do have OBS. I just don't know what to do with it. And then restream
.io. And if you
.io.
.io. And if you have OBS and you don't know what to do with it, then YouTube is your best friend. There are tons of tutorials on OBS on YouTube. So just start digging through some of those tutorials, do some searches for some specific questions and things you want to do. And I guarantee you there's a video out there to teach you how to do it.
Beautiful. Thank you so
Also,
much. Thank you.
Tezra, real quick, I just want to say, if you want to email me, I am not an OBS expert. However, my lead technical producer definitely is. I would be more than happy to cover the cost of him helping you figure out OBS and giving you a one-on-one little session. So reach out. My email's in my bio. That's all. I'm done.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Jimmy. That is so awesome and sweet of you. I will definitely follow through with that. Thank you.
Tezra, producer Jimmy, the best, great questions, great content. Loving that unity that you're displaying there. And I was also impressed with the analogy of the reminder about Oprah. Here's somebody that has succeeded at the highest level, and it is something to think about, that she does put herself out there, not always as in this perfect form. Yes, we see her in this form, and she admits to the hours of makeup and stuff like that. And then she'll be out there in sweats and stuff like that as well, showing her authentic self. So, hey,
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again, Dom. Be relentlessly authentic.
I tagged author Evelyn Van Ness. You see her; she's behind me in that picture, that book. It's "Be Relentlessly Yourself." That's a picture of her. If you see on the screen, and that was one of the thoughts that she shared in her book. It was "Be relentlessly yourself," and I'm so focused on this. And Tom, we're believing in this idea of that if we try to be anybody else but who we are. Like Tom with that, if you see in Pitt, Tom's got that flat bill that he always rocks. I can't rock a flat bill, but if I try to be anybody else but who I am, I won't do very good at it. But if I'm Dominick from Pittsburgh, I can do all right at it. So that's what I shoot for. So Ben, I see you flashing, and Ben's a guy that admits to having failed. So go on, Ben.
I mean, it's part of life. So if you PTR to my screen, you can see the top 2 videos. That's me and Tom's interview where I look the worst. And I was like, man, that really pointed out to me, like, I got to fix my lighting. It was actually a webcam that I was using too. So I switched to using my iPhone 12 Pro because why not? Like Nick was saying, I think earlier, because it's better than any of the other stuff I have. So the bottom left one is my iPhone 12 Pro with my real background, and then the bottom right is a virtual background, which to me doesn't look fake. Maybe it does, but you'd suggest bottom left one, but just make the background more interesting. Because that mirror there screws me with lighting and stuff too,
I'm confused, Ben. Where are we looking, bud?
If you look at his
profile picture.
His profile picture, you got to zoom in on it. He's got 4 pictures. He's quizzing you because he's got 4 pictures. He's trying to trick you. He's probably lying to you.
I'm not tricking anybody.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something if he was like, this is the one that has a virtual background and it's a different one that doesn't. I see what's going on here.
Look how good Tom's looks, though. See how nice that looks, everybody?
Yeah, Tom's always looks great.
Yeah. So my bottom 2 are with my iPhone. But the bottom right one's with a green screen. You'd say use the bottom left, which is not a green screen, but just clean up the desk area thing behind me and make it more authentic, and probably get rid of that mirror because the mirror screws me with the lighting.
I instantly thought the one on the bottom left looked better than the one on the bottom right.
That's just what the feedback I want to hear,
Yep.
So thank you.
100%. I'm sorry. I was like confused because I'm also on Club Deck. So like your profile picture is like minuscule and I can't zoom in on it. So I was like, where am I looking? But yeah, bottom left for sure.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Tom, we got to meet some more people. We have, so speaking of authentic, I'm looking at this bio here. Very interesting. We have LC, and she is a master angler. I would never know this, so this is interesting. So, Elle, thanks for being here. Ask a question, drop a tip, and I'm pleased to meet you.
Hi, everybody. I first just wanted to say, what a great group. This is the sharing, the generosity. I'm just very impressed, very, very impressed. And thanks. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, Master Angler. I I'm over 50, and sort of when someone was talking about being fiercely authentic, I find it so much easier at my age to be fiercely authentic. I just don't give a shit anymore. I really don't. I do what I want, what makes me happy, and get rid of the rest. I'm just there at that place. My children are grown, so it's now indulging in my passions. I run 2 businesses, so it's kind of hard to get that all on a Clubhouse profile. It looks a little jumbled, but I run 2 businesses, but my real passion is fly fishing and fishing in general. Um, so I have a couple different Instagram accounts where I've decided to sort of not muddy the waters with all of those together because it would look schizophrenic. So, uh, but I do have 2 podcasts that I'm working on, and I'm a female in the trades, so it's dealing with that, and I haven't published yet. So I had a few questions, but I haven't published yet because I want to do several. I think I have 3 episodes for that. I would like to get a few more. And then my fishing podcast is Lady Angler 402, and that's also my Instagram account for fishing, all things fishing. But I actually have brands reaching out to me um, as far as fishing because obviously there aren't that many women who um, fish, and and I do it a lot. I travel to do it. If I'm on a business trip, I hire a fly fishing guide. We hit, the Provo in Utah or wherever I'm at. So that's a little bit different angle, and I only have one so far, and finding I really am looking to find women to interview for that podcast. It doesn't have to be women, but I would like at least a few episodes to be women. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on any of that, but I really am just soaking in all of your guys' knowledge and your generosity. I've written down so many things already this morning, but lovely to meet you all.
Let's
Hey,
go
Al,
to.
I would love.
Hey, hold on here. Let's go to. I'm gonna try to my screens. I'm gonna go to Elizabeth. She was flashing first, and then producer Jimmy.
Well, first, I want to thank Tom and Dom for modding me. Thank you so much. I'm loving your room and your space. Al, I so resonate with you, and just like the older you get, just not giving a fuck. And I love that. I'm in my 40s and I'm feeling that too. So, yay, us. I do have a podcast. I've learned a lot about podcasting. I'm also like you, where sounds like you're a serial entrepreneur in terms of multiple businesses. So I have two pieces of feedback just for you to think about. Like you, I could hear myself in you. Last year, I had 2 businesses. I had a podcast. I have 2 young kids. I'm doing 50 things at once, and I'm deeply passionate about all of those things. But it was exhausting. And so in 2022, my word for this year is focus, and I doubled down on my dance studio business, and I focused on building that dance studio business, not only like my brick and mortar store, but also my social media. I opened a TikTok for it. Um, on my personal brand on Instagram, I totally like steered the ship a different way and focused on one niche. And I cannot begin to explain to you the power of focusing on one thing. Has exploded everything, like exponentially. And from a nervous system standpoint, it's giving me so much creative freedom. So I just want to put that out there. And then in terms of your, like, hearing you talk, I'm like, the niche, like your really unique niche of like a woman in her 50s who's a freaking fly fisher, like I mean, it is so niche and it's so incredible. And you said that you already have brands reaching out to you. What if you double down on that? Like, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, but that just feels so magnetizing. And my question to you about your podcast before we can answer your question is, in terms of you're saying, well, I want to interview women on your podcast. Who is your fly fishing podcast for? Who is your audience? What do they get from listening to your podcast? And what specific guests are you seeking besides just, gender women? Like, what is it that you're seeking to do with that podcast?
Well, that's a good question. One of my issues, and maybe you can help me with this. One of my issues is one of those passions and one of those Instagram accounts is the bread and butter. I mean, like that can't go away. That is where I make my money. And and that's where I get my business. It just 100%. I barely have to advertise, but I keep a very strong social media presence. And people say, "Oh, I saw you on Instagram," or "A friend shared your Instagram," or whatever. So I can't let that go, but that's a little bit easier to manage. I don't need I have a lot of content. That's pretty easy. But the fly fishing, that has been a fairly new endeavor for me. That page, that content. I have a lot of content still to put out there. I don't even have all of it out there because it would be like vomited content on everybody. But for my podcast for that, my ideal interview isn't necessarily women, but I would love to have some women anglers because we do approach this differently. Our challenges are different. It's intimidating for women to pick up a fly rod, much less any gear. It's intimidating to go out alone, hire a often male guide to take you out fly fishing, or a woman to find out where to go for lessons, all of these things. So but it's not necessarily just for women. I think men feel the same thing. I have actually been a guide for men. They don't often take, instruction as well from men, but they seem to be willing to take it from a woman. So I really, I guess would be geared for both, but women uniquely, and the gear is often geared towards men, the clothing, um, so I'd really like to raise awareness for brands like, hey, we're out here, come find
So,
us.
okay, Elle. So Elizabeth and then Jimmy, how does she do it? Give a quick tip, and then we're gonna move around. What would you say first? We'll go Jimmy, then Elizabeth on this, and then move on to Ching. So, Jimmy, what do you think?
Well, first, I just want to say that Elizabeth's questioning and advice so far has been unbelievably sound, and I followed you, Elizabeth. It was fantastic. Um, and a quick qualifying question, super fast, Al. When you say brands are approaching you, is it in reference to the fly fishing show? I just want to be sure I got that correct.
No, on Instagram.
But is it okay? What are they reaching out to you for? Is
Really,
it
they
at
would
all?
like more like affiliate, like they're gonna
Gotcha.
send
Okay.
me gear. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So here's what I would do. I would also echo what Elizabeth is advising you about, really leaning into it being women focused, and here's why. I mean, not to sound cheesy, but truly, the riches are in the niches. And if you can fill that space and do it as well as I believe you can, then you can own that space and you can actually have an effect on the industry, which is powerful. Now, how you do it. What I would say, regardless of what area you're in, I happen to be in Florida. So there are boat shows galore around me, but reach out to boat shows, and get yourself into those conferences and walk the floor and interview people who are running booths, interview attendees, interview the organizers, all women. It's going to be a cornucopia of possible interviews for you at the boat shows. And so and to make relationships and connections and be known as a podcaster in that space for female fly fishers. you can then pitch yourself to do a presentation at these boat shows in order to talk about fly fishing from a woman's perspective. You can talk to women,
Hey, producer
boat
Jimmy,
captains.
I'm getting jealous though. Now you're pumping up fly fishing so much that I feel like I'm missing the boat here. Go on though.
So was that a pun? Was that pun intended, Dominic? Missing the boat? Boom, boom,
No, but I'm ashamed.
So you can do that as you're walking the floor, expo floor. You can make relationships with all kinds of brands. It is going to be, I mean, the fruit is just going to abound if you go to conferences for boat shows and those kinds of things. So I wanted to give you that piece of advice. And I also really do want to fully endorse leaning in on focusing in on women. And I guarantee you're still going to have a solid male audience because they're going to be men who are interested in that perspective. They're also going to be men who maybe just want rock your like think your show's awesome, gender indiscriminate. So I would lean in on women, own that space, go to conferences as an attendee, or get media passes, or be a speaker, whatever it is, but go around that floor and interview people. And I could go on and on and on and on about this. I've done it a million times. I'm happy to shoot you perhaps a link to an example episode I did with my travel adventure show, Finding Florida, where we did this. And we literally went to a boat show and did this. So if you email me, my email's in my bio. Email me and I'll
Love
send you the
it.
link to the episode. All right. You got it. Back to Elizabeth, who also
Awesome.
rocks at his house.
Elizabeth, you want to
Jemmy,
tackle that? Go on.
well, I just want to say, Jemmy, I'm so excited to meet you and connect with you. And yeah, I love what she just shared. I have 2 other ideas that would not require you to leave your house. Which, by the way, I wanted to mention, I'm so out of breath because I'm out walking in a snowstorm in Colorado. So, FYI, I don't normally like huff and puff like this. Okay, so 2 ideas. One, do you have a TikTok account for the fly fishing business or podcast?
I have a TikTok account and I have not narrowed it down to just fishing. So,
Okay,
but I could easily
so
change that.
I was gonna say you could easily change it or just start a freaking new TikTok, girl. I'm
Right.
telling you, I've grown 10K followers in the last 3 months on TikTok because I'm so niche. Wedding dance is what we do. Wedding dance coaching is all that we do. And I'm telling you, the more niche you can be, the better. I know it seems really scary, but I could see you like blowing up on TikTok, um, educating people, talking about it, being the face of like female fly. It's just like I really could see that for you. And what's really beautiful about that is that when you do have that baby to birth, that beautiful podcast that you're birthing, or your products or your affiliates or whatever the heck it is, you just plot that link in your bio, girl. Right? So now people know, oh wow, this girl is like the queen of fly fishing. I'm going to click the link in our bio. I'm going to listen to her podcast. And then I'm going to go, oh my gosh, she's an affiliate with this place, whatever. Okay. So I see that. The other idea, which I have no idea if it would work, is just start opening up rooms and Clubhouse about female fly fishing and see who the heck comes in those rooms. I mean, you never know, but Clubhouse is just like low hanging fruit, right? It's all a big, grand experiment. So don't be afraid to experiment and just build the plane as you fly it. You got this.
I love it. I'm team niche down and PTR brown trout.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I see. This is Dom and I love this. This is like our favorite thing about this room is that it becomes such like a value driven space and everybody is like anxious to jump in, to share value with each other, to give tips, to offer help. Jemmy's here every week doing that, completely embodies that. We love having her here. And it's great to see Elizabeth and Elle hopping in and getting in on that spirit. So love it. Elle, hope that helped, and would totally encourage you on the back end, like reach out, use that back channel, reach out to folks, connect, make sure you connect with Jemmy and Elizabeth outside of this room and stay in touch so you guys can continue to help each other. And I can't wait to see what you do with your fly fishing. Super excited about that. Ching, I think you are up next. Ching, we're going to do the usual, drop a tip, ask a question, share some knowledge. But I think Dom had something he wanted to toss in real quick.
Oh yeah, I love. Thanks, Tom. I loved what Elizabeth said about the TikTok and how and Jimmy defining that niche. One of my authors, his name's Bobby Shanks. Undateable, the book. Look him up on TikTok. He just started doing TikTok, and he niche down. Like he wrote this book about being undateable, and it's basically about feeling good about yourself before you go out in this world, empowering yourself first. So he got out in this TikTok world, and he hadn't done none of this. Like he's a real estate guy by day, and now he's out in this world. And I saw one of his videos and I mean, he's been on, like, I'm telling you, 4 months now. He got 25,000 followers, and one of his videos has 1.4 million views, where he's doing his thing, niche down, and just telling his story in those short clips like that. So get out, share that story. You're right, Tom. We need to move on to Ching and Dominick, and then we're out of here. So Ching, like Tom said, ask a question, share a tip. Go on.
Hello. Hi, Tom. Hi, Dominic. Everybody. I like your room a lot. I think I've been here before. My name's Ching and Ching Zhu. I'm a Shanghai-born, Manhattan-based filmmaker, and I'm kind of famous on Clubhouse. Talk about using smartphone to shoot videos and film, because I made my recent film a 90-minute documentary exclusively using iPhone 11, and the film got like 3 best feature documentaries in Toronto and in Rome and some other places. So so I've been conducting that room on Fridays at 12 noon for a whole year, every single week, 52 times. So anyway, I'm fascinated with their topic. When I first came in, you were talking about YouTube, and then Carmen was asking question about how to use her phone to shoot um, better videos, and we could talk about for a long time, but I don't want to. But I just want to tell you, I'm a YouTuber also. I have 700 videos on YouTube and 5,000, more than 5,000 subscribers. And anyway, I do YouTube at the beginning just to host my videos. That was a long time ago, 2009. And now I do interviews. So I find interview kind of saved my ass during the lockdown, because I couldn't see people and I feel isolated. So I started to interview people using StreamYard and broadcast to YouTube. And so far I have interviewed 165 episodes. So I feel really, really wonderful. So I still go out to shoot stuff like events, but I do interview twice a week. And I must have also interviewed people on Clubhouse, like at least 15 people. Yeah. So, one last thing I want to tell you is my film, My Yangon Diary, is going to be shown next Friday, which is March 18th, in a theater in New York City. It's called Cinema Village. It is part of a film festival called Socially Relevant Film Festival, and I'm in the competition. So hopefully some of you in New York will join me.
Hey,
Thank you
Ching.
so much. Yeah.
Ching, we appreciate you, and congrats on the success. And I think that what that shows us, like Johnny said and Tom said, and we've been Nick started with his videos, how successful you can be with a phone. So when you're sharing the video content, you can scale up, yes, but you can take it out of your pocket and start telling a story. Tom, I think we are to Dominick. Dominick, you want to ask a question or drop a tip for us?
Sure. I was just going to ask a question. Just want to say thank you so much for bringing me up on stage. I have a few podcasts, but one in particular is a history podcast. And so I was curious if anybody in the room has had any experience with AI voices, like, just voices that are, you can use for your podcast. Obviously, when we're talking about history, not everybody is here with us to kind of get a sound bite or something to kind of help tell a story. So to try to recreate that, I was thinking about using AI voices. So I was curious if anybody had any experience with that and any programs you can suggest. I'm done speaking.
Jemmy, go ahead. I know I'm sure you got a thought on this. I got some thoughts on this too, but go ahead, Jemmy.
Yeah, just a quick one. I don't know of any AI programs, but what I do know is how people typically handle this is by getting some voiceover actors, and you can get your friends to, you get your friends to do it. You can get students to do it. There are a lot of different ways to do that. But if I were you, I would hire voice actors to just voice these characters for you. That's my opinion. I'm complete.
I would echo that. That's kind of the direction I was going in. I do know a couple of programs that offer AI voiceovers. I'm not a huge fan. It doesn't sound like a human being. No matter how you slice it, it might trick you for a few seconds, but if you listen, you're going to recognize pretty quickly it's not a person. And so I think you're much better off co-opting friends, family, maybe some looking at your local local college or university or community college if there's folks in the theater program or aspiring actors in the community that you can lean on to provide some voiceover work for you. I would go that route before I would use AI. It just always reads like a robot, and especially if you're trying to bring someone from the past to life, I think you have to do it with a real human, with a real voice. That would be my advice: is go for the real thing. AI is generally speaking a pretty poor substitute, and I think that's a good thing. I hope that helps answer your question, Dominic.
No, that helps tremendously. I wonder if it's just a situation where, I mean, obviously, a real human is better. I think the only hiccups I've kind of been experiencing with that, scheduling and stuff like that. So, obviously, with the human element, that kind of bring that to the forefront as well. But I appreciate the advice. Thank you so much.
On the scheduling note, just real quick, if you have the script for them and you can just meet with them, train them on how to record on their own, and then they just have to record on their own and then send you the content as long as they know the date you need to receive it by. So that's how I know a bunch of friends of mine are doing it. So I hope that helps.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest, Jemmy. Is you just beat me to the punch. But I was it's
Sorry,
exactly what
Tom.
that's exactly what I was going to suggest. Was just email them the script, coach them through how to record on their own. You can actually, again, going back to the phones thing that we were talking about before, even without professional recording equipment, you get under a blanket in a closet with your phone and record. You can actually get it to sound pretty decent. So you can always give them those tools and have them record it and send it back to you. So you're not trying to, juggle schedules to meet up in person to do the recording. So that's for sure an option.
Thank you so much to everybody.
Hey, Tom, I think that we've been on for about 2 hours today. I know for me, you guys make the room what it is. Like, I come in here, I'm dopey, silly, and I learn from each of you. So when you drop video tips, when I look at Tom and see how handsome he looks on that camera with that good lighting, or producer Jimmy comes in and tells about podcast tips, or Renee or Ben, Nick taught us TikTok. So I'm thankful for everybody that was here today. Grateful, Tom. My thoughts to leave are: get out there and share your story by whatever means. Get out there and share your story. It matters. It can make a difference. Get out there and share it, man. And Tom, I appreciate you every week guiding us through, answering my questions when I send you text and say, I don't know where the link is. I don't know how to get on. I don't know how to get internet. Any dumb question I ask him, he's always there for me. So I appreciate you as well. Do your thing, brother.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Dom. I appreciate. I wouldn't be in this room every week with you if it weren't for you. You're the one that invited me onto into this room in Clubhouse way back when, before I was a part of it. You're the one who invited me to become a part of this room, to co-host it with you and Neil. And now, here we are months later, just the two of us, moderating this room or hosting this room that brings so many amazing people into it every week, that creates opportunity for people to be vulnerable, to share, like we had earlier with producer Jemmy. Creates opportunity for people to learn, to gain knowledge and insight, to move their dreams forward, to pursue their passions. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity every week to be a part of this space, to play a small role in providing opportunity for everybody that comes in here, and to create this value. I think that what we do here every week is incredibly valuable. I think it's important. I think the folks that come back week after week would agree with that. I hope to see it continue to grow, because honestly, I think the more positive value we can put out in the world, the better off we all are. So I'll leave everybody with that. I'm going to harp on it again: be relentlessly authentic and do whatever you can every week to put positive value out in the world. Lead with value, and the value will return. So thanks again, everybody, for being here. Thanks to Dom for running this room in the way only he can. And we will see everybody next Wednesday morning.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.